What's up guys, Houndish here with some Destiny 2 news. I wanted to look at some of the new sword animations coming in Destiny 2. On top of this, the full Edge magazine article about Destiny 2 has now been released, and there are some interesting details I wanted to break down with you guys. We talk a little bit about the story, but more about kind of customization and some of the ideas behind the new systems coming in the game. But on top of this, we have some more events that have been revealed, and some pretty crazy merchandise, which is now circulating for Destiny 2. So starting out, I wanted to talk a little bit about sword animations in Destiny 2 and some of the ones we've seen so far. Of course, we have seen a katana style sword. We've also seen this sword with what is probably a pink shader. We've seen the broadsword, and as well as this, we've seen the warlock wielding two different swords. One of them is very ornate and has this kind of serrated edge, and the other looks a little bit more like a kind of bolt caster or something from Destiny 1, not quite identical. Interestingly though, we've only seen two sword animations actually used in trailers so far. So we have the Raise Lighter style uppercut, and we see the warlock with this really ornate sword right here with some pretty cool ornamentation, and then the warlock goes in with that uppercut animation doing solar damage right there. What's interesting about this is that in the recent PC trailer we saw a different sword, but the warlock used the exact same animation. Also, it appears to have solar damage. So it could simply be the case that they're using this uppercut as one of the kind of generic heavy attacks for certain swords. We haven't seen the kind of perk structure for swords and what kind of abilities they're going to have, but it is interesting that we see the same animation for both of those swords. We've now seen the animation of the broadsword in the game, so in the recent competitive multiplayer trailer we see the Titan run down the staircase with the sword right here and then activate a Young Wolf's Howl style animation. It in fact is pretty much identical to the Young Wolf's Howl right there. We haven't seen any specific animations for the katana apart from when the hunter swings at the Cabal in the trailer. So while they are giving us a very good tease for these swords, we don't really get too many details just yet, and it's going to be really exciting finding some of these in the game. Moving on, we have the Edge article now in full, and they actually called this Space Magic, which is pretty awesome. I wanted to pull out some stuff about kind of abilities, customization, but first they talk about kind of the weapon system change, and the magazine says it's a change that has not gone down well with the Destiny community. Players see it as evidence of Bungie being so desperate to fix long-standing problems in the Crucible, where shotguns and snipers have long reigned infuriatingly, insta-killingly supreme at the expense of the PvE game, where it seems as if options have been taken away from the players. And they're talking to Luke Smith, and they say he readily admits the change has been at least partly implemented to make life easier for the design team. And there's a quote, "It's about, as a designer, being able to understand how much power a player is going to be able to bring." But Luke Smith talks about this new weapon system, and he says, "Picture running the Vault of Glass using the Destiny 2 weapon system. Imagine the conversation you're going to have when you're about to do the Oracle phase. Who's bringing a sniper rifle? Who's bringing a fusion rifle for the Minotaurs? Now you're putting those powerful things in conflict with a rocket launcher, which is for AoE wave clearing and can effectively replace something like a Nova Bomb. Well, now Nova Bomb could be more important because not everybody's running with a sniper rifle and a rocket launcher. What this system does is make player power more predictable, but it also allows supers in a number of ways to shine even brighter in the game." And Luke Smith also said, "We're looking at difficulty as a way to drive conversations. Do you have the right tools? Are you looking into your backpack to see what you have? You should totally have favorites. If you have a favorite hand cannon, then awesome, you should use it. But I also think there should be times when you're like, you're not the right tool for this job, so you look in your entire golf bag and say, okay, what do I have?" So that's definitely some interesting stuff. They're kind of explaining the philosophy behind what they're doing with the balance and the way different abilities and weapons are used in Destiny 2. And it's definitely true, there will be much more kind of conversation and focus. The Vault of Glass analogy was pretty interesting. It would be a very different experience to go back and run that raid with Destiny 2's weapon system. And then they go on to talk about abilities and grenades, and they say in Destiny 2 acquiring them involves more input from the player than before, but the rewards for using them have been greatly increased. Grenades now hit like magical elementally powered trucks and are no longer solely used for clearing out low-level ads. Chuck one at a boss and the effect is dramatic. And I think this is based on the kind of launch version of the sandbox for the game. And Luke Smith gives the example of the Devour state for the Warlock, triggered by either scoring a kill with your melee ability or by consuming a grenade by holding instead of tapping the throw button. When Devour is active, kills restore your health and also accelerate your grenade cooldown. Charge it up quickly enough and you can stay in the Devour state for as long as there are enemies around for you to kill, your health constantly topping up, your grenades recharging in seconds. The thinking behind this is to make the ability recharge part of the gameplay loop. We want to present an opportunity and choice that means players can customize themselves more, but doing so will involve a trade-off and making difficult decisions. And that's been our approach. How do these different elements conspire to create interesting combinations that lead to strengths and weaknesses in each character? And this is where they talk about the Hunter. Online, the Destiny community has focused on the apparent weaknesses. Players of the Hunter class are especially miserable, believing that the character presented to them in the beta is a shadow of its former self, lacking utility and a clear role within the team. And Luke Smith points out that one subclass path lets Hunters create up to 8 super orbs for their allies using Golden Gun, which is enough when picked up to fill every team member's entire super bar from scratch. So that's very, very interesting right there. The Hunter does have that capability, and inside of, PvE content, that can be really super valuable in a raid at a given point, especially if it's something that you're kind of very aware of and, it's part of your tactic. The Hunter is going to take out X, Y, and Z ads wherever they spawn and generate those orbs, and then we'll have supers for this next phase, whatever it is. So it's definitely something that can be thought about and baked into your strategy. And this is where they said there is more though. Smith has asked us not to spoil it, and for once we've agreed. Suffice to say, everything is going to be fine for the Hunter. So this is the interesting statement that has caused a lot of speculation. We don't know whether it's a tease at the Night Stalker or some other abilities we haven't seen or that have been changed in other subclasses for the Hunter, but they're trying to reassure us that the Hunter will definitely have kind of utility and will be able to play a good role inside of a team. We'll have to wait and see exactly what that means. Up next, they give us a few brief bits of information about the story. There are definitely some spoilers in here, I suppose, but really they're kind of setting the scene in various different things that happen in the game, and they're kind of explaining some of the mechanics a little bit. So they talk about an encounter in the European Dead Zone when you kind of first arrive there, and they say with no weapons or powers and walking slowly with a stagger, you must, if only for a while, play a very different game. A fallen tree provides an essential bridge across the gap that normally you'd sail over without a second thought. A new mantle animation, which we'd previously thought had been solely designed to ensure you no longer miss a ledge that's 30 feet off the ground during a firefight, proves vital for getting over a low wall and along a mountain trail. As we follow a tight path towards our objective, we experience something we've never before known in Destiny, a fear of heights. It doesn't last long, of course. Soon after, you happen across a farm. In time, this will become Destiny 2's first social space, teeming with fellow guardians and vendors dispensing quests and wares. For now, it's just a small settlement populated by other humans, some of whom are warriors who've lived all of their lives and never been blessed by the Traveler's Light. Among them is Soraya Hawthorne, a handy sniper with a fine line in withering sarcasm. She alerts you to a nearby shard of light that fell from the Traveler during the attack. Others have noticed as well, of course, but once you've seen them off, you're soon running around with a new set of powers, able to throw caution to the wind, safe in the knowledge that if all goes wrong, you'll simply be brought back to life. We're back, your ghost companion swoons, and the ghost says, let's spread the love. So it's firstly interesting that they say others have noticed the Traveler's Light as well. They didn't specifically refer to enemies or the Fallen or the Cabal. They say others, so perhaps we'll have some interesting engagements with other humans or guardians. But it says from there, it's a matter of getting the band back together, the farm slowly repopulating with old friends as you flit from Earth to Titan, Io and Nessus, rescuing the desperate members members of the Vanguard from far-flung corners of the solar system. They also talk briefly about boss fights and some interesting mechanics here. So boss fights are no longer attritional checks of your damage output and endurance, but tests of skill. The excellent shape-shifting boss neither relentlessly shells nor surrounds you with swarms of minions, but does just enough to ensure you're constantly moving, always thinking, forever under threat. His health bar goes down quickly once you can land shots on him, but the real battle is creating the opportunity to do so, finding gaps between his attacks and his backup troops. Destiny's bosses have previously been about phases, not just in terms of the boss attacks, but also the way that they dictate your actions. If the campaign is any guide, Destiny 2 shifts the focus away from the designer and onto the player, letting you set the terms of engagement, the flow of a fight, now a question of skill and good decision making. So those are some really interesting impressions from the folks over at Edge Magazine. Of course, they've had these exclusive interviews, and they also had a couple of days to play the game. They played the entire campaign for Destiny 2, so they definitely have a good impression, or a good first impression, of the content in the game. I'd be curious to hear any of your guys' thoughts in the comment section about this stuff, but it's definitely pretty exciting. In other news, even more new Destiny 2 merchandise has now started circling and be available in GameStop and on various websites and everything like that. Reddit user Look It's Luke actually posted a bunch of images of some of this stuff. So you can see we have the Guardian kind of lanyards right there. Some pretty awesome looking keychains. Even more awesome are these new watches. So there's one with kind of all the Guardian classes on, and then we have faction ones, so FWC, Dead Orbit, and New Monarchy, and these look absolutely awesome actually. I want to try and get hold of some of these over in the UK. And another user, JC23 Football, actually posted these new kind of figures that you can get for Destiny 2, and there is a Gol one right here, which is pretty awesome. Gol almost looks ever so slightly cute right there. We also have a figure for Ikora and Zavala, as well as Saladin with the Wolves. These are pretty awesome. So that about sums up this video anyway, guys. Some very interesting information from the Edge article. I'd be curious to hear any of your thoughts on that stuff down in the comment section. Control Freak also revealed their new Destiny 2 Ghost thumbsticks. If you want to save 10% on those or any other Control Freak products, then follow the link in the description below or use code Houndish at checkout and you can save yourself a few bucks. For now though, I very much appreciate you guys watching. If you have enjoyed the video, a like is appreciated below. If you're new to the channel, be sure to hit subscribe if you want to see a lot more Destiny 2 content. But for now, I hope you guys have an awesome day.